Kafka or RabbitMQ. Search for one and the other appears immediately beside it, like software engineering's version of Coke versus Pepsi. And most explanations make the debate worse because they dump feature lists on you before explaining the actual problem. So here is the honest version. Imagine a food delivery startup with two completely different headaches. First problem. A restaurant uploads a new dish photo. The back end now has to resize it into 5 sizes, scan it for moderation, maybe compress it, then publish it. These are background jobs. Each task should happen once by one worker as fast as possible. After the work is done, nobody cares about the original instruction anymore. Second problem. Every order creates events. Order placed, payment confirmed, courier assigned, delivered. And 6 different systems care about those events: tracking, payments, restaurant dashboards, fraud detection, analytics, notifications. Then one day the fraud team asks a terrifying question. Can we replay every order from the last 30 days? Those are not variations of the same problem. They are different shapes entirely. RabbitMQ is for the first shape. Think of RabbitMQ as a smart postal service. A producer sends in a message, RabbitMQ routes it using rules called exchanges, then places it into queues for workers to process. One worker grabs the task, does the work, and confirms completion with an acknowledgement. And here's the key idea. Once the task is confirmed, the message disappears. The mailbox empties. RabbitMQ is optimized for delivering work efficiently. It pushes messages eagerly to consumers, balances tasks across workers, supports priorities, retries failed jobs, and can move poison messages into dead letter queues. The broker itself does a lot of the intelligence, which keeps consumers simple. Picture a postal sorting office. An envelope labeled resize photo enters a routing machine called an exchange. It gets directed into the correct queue. A worker stamps it done, and the envelope vanishes. That is RabbitMQ's worldview. Deliver and forget. Now, compare that to the order event problem. If the payment service reads an event, should the fraud system lose access to it? Of course not. And deleting the event after one consumer reads it would be disastrous. That's where Kafka enters. Kafka is not a postal service. It's a ledger. Events are written into a durable log called a topic. Reading an event does not remove it. The log keeps the history. Every consumer tracks its own position using an offset, basically a bookmark. So the analytics system can be on page 5 million, while fraud is replaying page 200,000 from last week. Picture a giant ledger book labeled orders. Events are written line by line forever. 6 different readers hold bookmarks at different positions. One reader flips backwards through old pages labeled replay. That's Kafka's worldview. Record and remember. And once you understand that difference, most architecture debates suddenly become much simpler. RabbitMQ is for tasks. Kafka is for events. RabbitMQ says, give this instruction to one worker and remove it afterward. Kafka says, record this fact so many systems can read it now or later. The technical differences all flow from that core idea. RabbitMQ tends to feel lighter operationally. It has richer per-message routing, works beautifully for background jobs, and is easier to start with at modest scale. Kafka requires more planning. You think about partitions, retention, consumer groups, replay, storage. But in return, it scales into a massive event backbone that can retain history for days, months, even years. And here's the part many articles skip. This is not actually a war. A real company often uses both. RabbitMQ handles kitchen work tickets like resizing photos or sending emails. Kafka streams the company's bloodstream of events across payments, analytics, fraud, and monitoring systems. So when someone asks, Kafka or RabbitMQ, stop comparing feature checklists first. Ask a simpler question. Is this work that should be completed once and forgotten, or is this history that multiple systems may need to read again later? Deliver and forget, or record and remember? That is the entire debate in one sentence.